One would be wondering, intelligence has been the major issue. Are we getting it right? Are we on the right track in terms of intelligence gathering?
I absolutely agree with you. As a matter of fact, when we have considered the fact that there didn't seem to be adequate knowledge, foreknowledge of some of the things that we would have assumed that as a country we should know. It worried us very much within our movement. And one of the things that I often pondered was to hear people almost guessing as to who could be the headsmen that are terrorizing our communities. Why should we guess? The truth is that the nation state has the monopoly of coercive apparatus, and it should manifest in the capability that we muster all kinds of intelligence assets that we can find anywhere in the world should by now be available to us to be able to pick up intelligence. And frankly, to also speak, to be fair to the intelligence community, sometimes because we don't know what they have prevented, we may assume that they are not preventing enough. But, that's the counterfactual of it. But it does seem to me that with manifestations around the country, newer dimensions, newer types of variations of insecurity, we need to see the intelligence capability so enhanced that we can look at them again and see a trend that is positive exactly in the way that we're saying of our military.
Interesting. Let me quickly go to Mr. Adesina. I could have come to you, but let me quickly go to Mr. Ruwani. With what we have seen, the attacks on the oil pipelines that we've seen on Shell, on Mobil, on NNPC, Escravos, and this is affected 20-year all-time low. That's what we are seeing in that sector, in the Niger Delta region. This is something that we've seen that looked like a deja vu of some sort. How do we tackle this particular level of insecurity, especially of the militants now?
It's interesting that Jide ascribed the consequences of insecurity and measured it only in terms of lives lost. The lives lost, there's also economic consequences. And then you ascribe motives. The reality is that the disruption to oil production and its impact on our revenue, fiscal, on our foreign exchange resources, on our exchange rate and our external reserves is profound. Really, really huge. Now, you're down to about 1.2 or 1.3 million barrels of oil. But what is more interesting, and what is more disturbing actually, is that the oil assets that have been disrupted are those that where Nigeria gets its highest revenue receipts. What is producing right now are the deep water, where we're under the production sharing contracts. And Nigeria's revenues from those assets are probably highest at 20 or 30%. So the impact on the fiscal revenues of Nigeria and the states and the local government and the level of economic activity is beyond comprehension. Now you ask yourself, who are these people and what do they want? Is this a proxy war for the politically disgruntled? Is this a proxy? Because this is a very elaborate attack. You are going underwater pipelines, so you need to be sophisticated. These are not just people who are talking about amnesty. So it goes back to what Obi said, intelligence. And we have to look at all of it put together, because if there could be a massive conspiracy, but the whole idea of leadership is to take cognizance of all of these things and deal with it. But the reality is that this is crunch time for Nigeria. The last thing we need now, as much as a bullet in our head, is a drop in the production.
The Niger Delta Avengers have said they will shock the world with the level of attacks that we're seeing. During the era of President Muhammadu Buhari, we saw the Niger Delta militants drop their arms for amnesty. Are we looking at a new round of amnesty now?
Who are the Avengers and what are they avenging? One. Two, the Niger Delta struggle was about self-determination, about resource control, about environmental struggles, all the way from Saruba, from Isaac Boro to Saruba, and all the way to this point. The destruction of assets at this time happens to coincide with the step up on the anti-corruption war. Is there a link between anti-corruption and the militancy? Who in the Niger Delta? I am from the deep Niger Delta. What's this all about? There's a riddle here that needs to be unraveled. And so we'll get to that, but the point I'm trying to make is that there are serious consequences, and this can actually disrupt the economic program of this administration and everybody in Nigeria, not just administration. Everybody in Nigeria is going to suffer.
I'm very sure right now, almost all fingers will be pointing in the direction of Femi Adesina right now, because there are a lot of answers that Nigerians will want to get. The Agatu mass attacks are there in the north central region, the northeast. We're battling to quench that terrorist, terrible situation there. And of course, in the southeast, that situation is different. And of course, in the Niger Delta. But as it stands now, does the government feel troubled about the multidimensional way this insecurity is coming right now?
Well, maybe troubled is not the word I'll use, but I'll say concerned. Concerned. Because government is there to solve problems. And when they come multifaceted like that, government should naturally be concerned, and the government is concerned. The Northeast, the situation in the Northeast was being put down, and government has gone very, very far with that. And suddenly...
How far now?
Very, very far.
Give us an update on it.
The update is that at this time last year, that problem was in the Northeast, it was in the Northwest, it was in North Central, it was coming down south. And if it came down south, you never knew what would happen to the country. But then you see that the government has beaten back that threat. It's not only circumscribed within Northeast now, it's just within Sambisa Forest. You have them selling forth once in a while to explode IEDs, but you can't compare what obtained at this time last year and what subsists now. There is a wide
we talked about weapons at some point. They didn't have weapons. But there are talks that some of the weapons bought by the President Jonathan administration are being used right now. They have arrived because you don't buy them off the rack. How true is that?
Government is a continuum.
No. Is it true that some of the weapons bought during Jonathan administration are here now?
That you can ask the defense spokesman. He will have.
You are the president's spokesman. You should know.
No.
You should be privy to that.
No, I should not be pontifical. I should not just speak about what I do.
So you do not
definitely
know the nature of the weapons our soldiers have.
There is a defense spokesman who can give you the definite position of that, and it's simple.
All right. We'll take a moment on the program, and when we return, security is still on our lips, and we'll be talking more. You can join the conversation, but we'll be right back. Stay with us.